So, I think that about wraps us for, I guess, the advertisement part of the broadcast. And we can talk a little bit about today's game. We are going to be watching Ataraxia against Peps. And this is a very exciting game. Because even though neither of these teams are going to Dallas and everything this week is about Dallas, this game's still really important. While we expect both of these teams to make top 8, and I think they've pretty much done it with their record so far, it's really interesting to see their power levels. Ataraxia really burst onto the scene with their double flex competition. I can bring up the rosters for you while we talk about this so you can see the players. We can see the players' names. So, Ataraxia have burst on. They've got a double flex support comp. Now they try and run in most places because obviously that suits Gala and that suits Canale. They do run Lucio where they have to on the maps where you feel it cannot be avoided. And to be honest, they actually beat SSG on it as well. So we'll see a lot of that, and we'll see how they do on the Lucio compositions, because obviously that is also a strong point for Peps as well. And very much a strong point for Peps. So with the rest of Ataraxia, I think they've been very impressive. They took SSG all the way. They lost to Twisted Minds. They beat Ents, obviously, which was the big result that I think really switched a lot of people on to, hey, this team is for real. This team is here to play. And since then, they've had relatively straightforward games in FACEIT. Whoa! Don't know what that ding was for. While I was trying to sort out the text-to-speech, I've been playing around with Streamlabs. So I have a Streamlabs plugin now. So sometimes stuff dings now, and I don't know why it dings now. I don't know. If anyone knows, let me know. If anyone knows where these dings are coming from, or what the cause of the dings are, let me know. Because right now I have a case of undiagnosed dings. And I don't know where they come from. So we'll deal with that. We can deal with that as we go. Don't worry about it. So, where was I? Ataraxia. Ataraxia in a very strong position. I think people are really sort of putting them up there as the closest team, maybe to Ents and SSG, based on results. Maybe alongside Twisted Minds. Obviously, Twisted Minds lost to Ents and SSG, even though those were close to O's. So there's really a top 5. If I show you the standings, you can kind of see what I mean. So no surprise to see SSG, they didn't lose any games, so they get to be top of the table. Meanwhile, Ents and TM also in the chasing pack. Obviously, 2 losses apiece. One of those each to SSG. TM also lost to Ents, and Ents also lost to Ataraxia. Ataraxia have a game in hand, only on 12, can go up to 11 as well if they win today, but they need to beat Peps. And Peps have very much found themselves as the tier break team. They beat the teams below them, but when they play some of these teams, when they play SSG, they get smashed. When they play Ents, they get smashed. So there's a big amount of pressure on Peps, to prove that they are not just a tier break team. So instead of there being, if I was to draw the tier break lines, instead of there being lines like this, when there's a big 4 and then Peps and then everybody else, now Peps actually want to belong in this category. They want to be in the big 5, the Fab 5. They want to be up there. So that's why I think this game matters a lot for Peps, even though it might not matter a lot in terms of who actually gets to be in the top 8 for FACEIT and who gets to the knockout portion of the tournament. Maybe it doesn't matter so much in that, but I think it's an important game to prove they deserve to be in the conversation, because right now it feels like they've been struggling a little bit. I think with Peps, we can look at their results recently. Well, obviously it's still mostly wins, the loss to Ents, the loss to SSG. They had a scare against New Age. They had to go to map 3 there. They actually had a scare against Celtics yesterday, which is, we'll watch the replays of that tomorrow on stream if you're interested in such a thing. So, Peps, I think, have the most to prove. Ataraxia, obviously, good team, want to win because they're a good team. That's what good teams do. They win these sort of games. They prove they're above Peps. So, one thing that has to be noted, some hot off the press from my sideline reporter. I have been told the reason for the delay initially was Crook's internet went down. Level 1 Crook had no internet, so they pushed the game back half an hour. So they're trying to get it to work. But if not, they won't have Crook available. So what you would expect to happen is Johan would come in. Johan is for backup flex support. They have a decent squad there, Peps with Stelios and Johan as sort of backup players for these situations or something like exactly this. But unfortunately, Johan is currently banned on FACEIT. The official quote was, for some reason. So I don't have the details of that. But what that might mean is we're going to get, well, we're potentially going to get Ben Best on flex support unless Crook's internet comes back. So that might obviously shift the balance. That might shift the balance of this series one way or the other. Maybe in Ben Best's favour. I've not seen a whole lot of Ben Best Anna. But we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we hope it works out. I'd rather Crook's internet was here. I'd rather both teams were at full strength and able to show their best. Obviously, it should make for a better game as well. Obviously, it just make for a pretty good game if Ben Best is able to, you know, win the series for Peps as well. Dusting off the old game in hands for one last ride to take down Ataraxia. But other than that, I think Peps do still have that to prove. Let's work on the basis that Crook's internet will come back. They'll be at full strength. I think Peps are the team with a bit more to prove here for Ataraxia. When you play against Ataraxia, you have to factor in they are going to play double flex support on some of the maps, especially once we get to Hybrid and once we get to Escort. And that means double flex likes to play wide, likes to play angle. So if you are Team Peps, you have a couple of options. You can play a Lucio Brawl, you can play Dive. But what you have to do is you have to make sure you solve all these difficult holds. Because the reason Ataraxia's comp is so good is if they get those players to stand in position 1, 2, and 3, they have the angles. They've got really high damage. They can do a lot of stuff. So if you don't have a way to clear this out or you don't do everything in the correct order, you just get rolled by those angles. And then this is a lot of what we happen to Ents. Ents not taking the steps to clear some of the angles and just giving Gala way too much value. Similarly, I know there's a bit of a Sauna is in vogue right now after OC's video about breaking down some of Sauna's play against SSG in that Nepal that they took off them. Very good video. If you haven't seen it, go check out OC's channel. He's doing a lot of good analysis content. But what it started is a wave of Sauna fans. People are switched on to him. Another unknown ding. So people are really switched on to Sauna. I think since coming into this Ataraxia, and finally we get to see Sauna. Finally we get to see Sauna in a starting position for a team, and he's looked good. So a lot of praise should be given to Sauna. I think while we're on that note of praising and glazing Ataraxia, Rajaro is probably the least known player on this roster, and I think he's been the real breakout star of this team. I think playing Ramattra, one, there's a lot of good Ramatras in EMEA, so it's hard to play Ramattra. But when you have to do it without a Lucio in a lot of compositions, your life's actually a little bit harder. You can get run over if you get split or you go too far forward. You don't have the same amount of speed to bail you out of those things. So I think Racharo has been very impressive and definitely a player to keep an eye on for a future. And I think he has been a fundamental part of why Ataraxia have done so well too. So a lot of praise for Rajaro. One thing that's worth talking about as well, and we have to always talk about this with Ataraxia, is you have to get your draft right. Crimzo did not get his draft right for Ents, and it cost him. When you play against Ataraxia, there's a lot of maps you want to avoid, essentially. If I can take you through... This is the wrong tournament. But if I can take you to the right tournament, let's say, you have to factor in the map pool. Here we go. So when you factor in the map pool, we're only playing best of 3, so Flashpoint and Push are dead. Those maps don't exist anymore. Haven't seen them in ages. Don't even know what Saravasa looks like. But Ataraxia get to pick map 1 and map 3. And what this means is, while you can ban one of the good double flex maps, so maybe you could ban like a Junkertown, the problem is they can still pick Rialto, which is obviously what Ataraxia do a lot. Meanwhile, on Hybrid, what Ataraxia normally do is they ban Pariso, and then they force you to pick from one of these 3 options, which are all pretty good options for them. They've got very good Hollywood. Obviously, Midtown is a good double flex map. So with the way the maps fall, because Ataraxia will have map 1 and map 3, and Peps only have map 2. This is a huge advantage for Ataraxia in terms of the draft. So Peps have to be wise with their bans. The default bans against them is something like you take Busan away from them, you maybe take Midtown away from them or something. There is maybe an argument that what you want to do against Ataraxia in terms of the draft is you take Busan away from them because you don't want them to play that. They actually love to play Hollywood, so actually maybe you take Hollywood away. They'll probably take Paricio, and you gamble now they'll probably go Midtown, but maybe they go Ike, and maybe... obviously, you get to pick, actually, so you could just go Eichenwald. That's what a lot of teams have done against them so far. And then, obviously, for Escort, normally Ataraxia ban Shambali, so you can probably ban Junkertown or Rialto. It depends what you feel better on. I feel like Junkertown's actually way more viable for dive than people give it credit for, since they introduced the new abandoned house on first point. So I think, actually, low-key... take him to Junkertown. Ban Rialto against him. Take Rialto away from him. I think Rialto is actually better for double flex. Rather than Junkertown. I think the Junkertown changes actually shift from map to a dive map. People just haven't realized yet. They're walking around like it's double flex. They're living in the past. It's a dive map now. You can just dive on it. Nothing's stopping you except the limitations of your own mind. We'll obviously get a chance to see what Peps do. We're 2 minutes out right now, and we're going to get the roster finalization at that point. And obviously the roster finalization is actually a very key bit, because we'll get to find out if Crook is back or if Ben Best is going to make an unexpected return. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. Do really hope that Crook's internet is fixed, because I want it to be a good game. I want both teams to have the best chance of victory. I think a couple of players that I'd like to see good performances from as well. I think on the Pep side of things, Tread and Zodiel were players who got a lot of praise on Pep's initial rise during OWCS Stage 2 of this new look roster. I think they've still looked fine from when we've seen them, but ultimately some of the games we're watching are actually more the games against Ents and SSG where they've struggled in. I'd like to see more from Zodiel. I think Shockwave is a good barometer. I feel like there's a lot of really elite hit scans, you know, the Kai, Quartz, Sparker sort of category. But then I think Shockwave is probably like top of the tier below. So I feel like if you can go blow for blow with Shockwave, who has been, let's be honest, in great form. Great form for Shockwave on the hit scan for Ataraxia. If Zodiel can go toe-to-toe, I think that's a good indicator. I think it's been a while since I've seen a sort of... I was going to say a vintage Zodiel performance, but it was only like a month ago. You know, I miss old Zodiel. Where's old Zodiel? So I want to see a good performance from him. I think as well, Naga is a player who gets maybe not enough praise in terms of how well he does on the flex support role. He can play a lot of different ones. A lot of different roles. And there he is as well, Mr. Shockwave. Mr. Shockwave with the tier 1 4 months in a row. Thanks, Shockers. Good luck today. Trying to buy some favor in this one. So we're getting reports that Yoham might be playing the official. So maybe Yoham is unbanned. Maybe they've solved that problem. I've got a Discord message as well. It's unrelated. An unrelated message. And we're going to go into the ban phase. So let's lock in for the bans. It will be Peps banning first. They ban Samoa, which is what to be fair, it's what Peps normally do, but it's also what Ataraxia normally do. So I think Peps maybe missed a chance, but but they're going to ban Busan. Oh, sorry, that was the other way around. Sorry, yeah. So Ataraxia ban Samoa like they normally do. Peps, Ataraxia maybe missed a trick because Peps normally ban Samoa. So Ataraxia could have banned either Nepal or Oasis to swing it their way. Ataraxia do normally pick Nepal if Busan is not available. So expect Ataraxia to go that way. The way the map draft works on FACEIT is the pick's just gone through, but we won't get to see it until the end. So I do expect it to be Nepal from Ataraxia, but we'll have to wait patiently to see how that one unfolds. We do see Yoham in the roster, so the word on the street was confirmed. So still a blow for Peps, but much more manageable, I think, just having your backup flex support play rather than Ben Best. Hopefully it means Crook might also have his internet fixed in time for map 2 or something like that. Peps is now going to ban onto Hybrid. So Peps normally ban Midtown, sometimes Pariso, but I think against Ataraxia, they're going to be they're probably going to go Midtown, but I actually think they should go Hollywood. I think you could call Ataraxia's bluff on Midtown. I don't think they like the map. They're going to go... Peps banned Paricio, actually. But Ataraxia also always banned Paricio. So I think that's a wasted ban by Peps there. Ataraxia now gets to put big influence on what's left. Holly is their favourite map, so I imagine they leave that one open. They might ban Iconwold even. Force a Holly Midtown choice out of Peps. Yeah, I think this is a How do Ataraxia keep getting away with this? It's going to be an Iconwold ban, actually, from Ataraxia. Yeah, so if they want to bait Hollywood, I think. I think Peps, honestly, I think call Ataraxia's bluff on Midtown. Ataraxia love Hollywood. We'll have to wait and see what Peps pick afterwards as well, but... Yeah, the Pariso ban from Peps, I think, ends up being wasted there. They could have taken Holly away. Now we'll go on to the Escort, which will also be Ataraxia's pick. Ataraxia with the instant ban on Shambali. Peps love the map, Ataraxia hate the map. A nice, easy one. Peps coming back now. Junkertown in some ways is the obvious choice, but as I alluded to before, I think you can dive on Junkertown. I think take Rialto away from Ataraxia. Because Ataraxia aren't going to want to go Route 66 because dive is really viable and it's harder to get the angles. So Ataraxia don't want to go to Route. They don't want to go to Shambali. Obviously, they already banned Shambali. But I think they want to go to Rialto. I think if you ban Rialto, Ataraxia will pick Junkertown, and I think you can dive them on Junkertown. That's what I would do personally. But we'll have to wait and see what Peps decide to do. Will be a Rialto ban. That's what I like to hear. Presumably Ataraxia will pick Junkertown then. Route 66 is a tough map for them. We'll get all the map picks in a second, and then we'll get invited to lobby. We can get ourselves in there. Ataraxia deciding now. Ataraxia might think about this one for a while, because I don't think they were expecting Rialto to get taken away from them. Don't think they were expecting it. Alright, they'll pick the side. And then we should get our lobby invite, and we'll get to see what the maps are. Alright, Nepal, Holly, and Junkertown. So we expected Nepal. Hollywood. Hollywood is one of those where, I sort of have to question the draft of how on earth do Ataraxia keep getting to play Hollywood? How is it possible that that's the legal maneuver against them? Ataraxia love Hollywood, so I think the map draft is very tough. Very tough here for Peps. And obviously very tough that they don't have their main flex support either due to those internet issues. So the nature of internet issues are they are quite volatile, so it could be fixed quickly, it could be fixed slowly, which means we could see Crook return into this series partway through. It was the reason this game was initially delayed half an hour as well. But obviously in that half an hour, not enough time. We'll get everyone in lobby now. Which maybe makes me feel like it's time to do predictions. And maybe predictions got a little bit easier with the way the draft went, the fact that we're going to Hollywood, the fact that Nepal was the map they actually took off SSG. It was a messy Nepal, but a win's a win, especially against SSG. But I actually think it's going to be an Ataraxia 2-0 with this setup. I'm really interested to see the decision Peps make in terms of how to play versus it. Nepal might just be a bit more straightforward. We'll just actually get a Lucio mirror out of both teams. But Hollywood will be an interesting indicator on whether Peps think they are better diving it or they're better playing a Lucio comp. And then obviously we get to go to Junkertown, which I'm a believer in. As much as I disagree with Peps's bans on Hybrid, I'm actually a really big fan of how they banned for the Escort. Obviously we'll have to wait and see if we get there. It is only a best of 3. So might not even be required. Might not even be required. Just waiting on the final couple of players to join. Kanao and Gala already in, Rajara already in. Just waiting on Sauna. Meanwhile, on the other side, we're just waiting for Big Treaders, as everyone I know calls him. So we expect Lucio from both teams. We expect potentially a Ram mirror as well. One thing that's worth saying is, while the Ram mirror is what we expect, there has been a shift in the meta. I talk about this in my interview series that's coming out right after this game, about how the meta's shifted a little bit more towards Malga in a lot of situations. We've seen that in some of the North American FACEIT games in particular. A bit more Pharah, a bit more Venture. We'll see what the teams go for. We'll start on Nepal Shrine. Zodial saying something in Spanish. No, I don't know. I reckon crema is cream. Hola means hello. Sora says vamos, which I think means go. Lots of Spanish being thrown about here. Obviously, Kineo, also Spanish. Actually, a surprising number of Spaniards in the lobby. I don't know if surprising is the right word. Didn't mean to disrespect the nation of Spain. Lest they send their armada back to the shores of Britain. I wouldn't want to incite such an international incident. But we do have quite a few. Got Kineo, got Gala, and got Zodial. And we'll kick this one off. It's Ram. No surprises. Ram, Lucio, Tracer. And it will be a high ground rollout here for Peps on the right-hand side. Yoham obviously in on that Kiriko. Kineo also on the Kiriko. Slow and steady in this first fight. Playing for rails, playing for angles, and it's going to be an aggressive move to force Naga out, but recall has been forced. So we'll take a more defensive angle, but Zodial's getting aggressive on the other side. Shockwave will go to meet him. Forces all of Peps back onto the point here. They've been corralled in front of them as forms are traded by Rajaro and Tread. Naga is trying to retake this angle. Can't take it too much though. Shockwave's going to regroup with team. Pressure now onto Sauna, but again Naga has his recall force. They're going to take a step forward with that. They get behind it, but Tread's got a much later form to push back with here. Here comes Tread. How much can he get? He's down to half health though. He's getting focused, so he can't walk that much. Slow and steady. Point still hasn't been captured here. Gonna be a Kitsune rushes soon. Naga still trying to retake this angle, trying to poke Rajaro out. Shockwave misses his rail attempts. And Kitsunes are in play. Pulse Bomb onto Tread. Kitsune rush there. They need to respond with this one. FD God's going to respond with Beat to stabilize here. Tread can't walk that much further forward. Now the opposite. Kitsune rush from Peps. Beat back, but Tread is so low. But Pulse Bomb on the other side is Suzu'd. And this should put them in a commanding position to finally take this first fight here, Ataraxia. Slow and steady, they win the ult trade. They got later support ults, but ultimately, Tread was a little bit too low to really capitalize off that later Kitsune rush. They maybe could have done with the Kitsune rush down the other side or something, giving themselves less of an overlap. And actually, Kaneo's going to get caught. Tread with a pick. Shockwave wants to overclock. He wants to try and hold it. Zodial was matched and Zodial was won. The opening pick helps. We said we wanted to see a lot from Zodial. He will get traded. But that's a hell of a start. We talked about it. Can Zodial match the level of some of these more elite established hit scans? And at least in the initial trade, he comes out on top. But really it was all that pick from Tread that was the big opener for him. Now the retake from Ataraxia. Only got 29% on that first one. We're able to hold. FD God is low. Will take a scary route out, but does get out. But Tread is walking onto the backline. He's forced for Suzu. Tread needs help. He's got him pinned back, but now Rajaro comes back. Boop in to finish him as well. Tread wanted to go, but where was the rest of Peps? Now Peps have to go really far back, but Zodial's good for one again. They have a tank disadvantage, but they have a Zodial advantage right now. Sauna's trying to put pressure, forces for Suzu. But here comes Zodial. The man can't be stopped. Full pocket. Kitsune rush. It doesn't matter. Zodial's got another. You throw a ram at him. You throw a Kitsune rush at him. Zodial keeps finding the picks. And now Tread is back. And Peps will stabilize. They didn't give the flip. So huge capture advantage. Capture progress advantage for Peps. They've got beat advantage as well. They've got the Kitsune rush. Huge ult advantage for Peps. They should win the round of this ult situation. Tricky one for Ataraxia to play. They're going to try and come up this left-hand side. Might just start with overclock. Kitsune rush to start it, though. Tread wants to go. Ataraxia want to go away, but they turn their attention to Shockwave. Suzu is not enough, and Peps force them back. Do they get one more fight? They should if they all live here, but Naga gets Sauna. Gonna make the touch a little bit awkward here. Gala does have Beat coming back soon, 14% away, but look at Peps. They want to go early. Does Shockwave know? He knows now. Naga's on top. Johan's on top. They surprise him. Shockwave caught napping. Sauna's going to run for the touch, but Naga's going to try and play blocker. Doesn't force the recall out, though, so Sauna can maybe still make a move for it. Has to try and go. He's going to blink for it. Boot back. Denied. FD God. And really, that round was all about Zodial. That fight where they killed Tread. It looked like that. Normally, when you lose a Ram that early in the fight, it should just be the end of it. But not today, not for Zodial. And a good turn and an important win for Peps. A solid round from Johan as well. Obviously wasn't expecting to play today, but with Crook's internet issues, has to come in last minute. And a good start, Kitsune rushes were good. Suzu's seemed to be where they needed to be. And even got that kill onto Shockwave in that aggressive hold in the last fight. We'll move on to Sanctum, which generally speaking is a bit of a slower map, and Naga is going to go Pharah now. You Overwatch history nerds, you'll know Pharah was always Naga's go-to hero. A bit of a menace on it, and he's going to be holding the right-hand side from his team's perspective here. We'll be taking on Sauna. Sauna has to be careful to avoid those rockets. Meanwhile, we'll get a classic Ram trade. Block and punch, trade the resources, but Sauna's got him behind, he's killed Naga. And now the boop is good. Does he reset? Was he booped or did he reset? Did he jump or was he pushed there, Tread? We don't know. I didn't see it. But either way, Sauna, the man of the moment, gets the opening pick, sets that one up for his team. Now we're in a pretty good situation to go aggressive and they catch Zodial here. Ataraxia have ramped up the tempo. And they'll claim their reward. Tread should be able to block all the way out to spawn. Just about. Naga has swapped Widow, looking for any early picks. We'll see if he sticks. No, doesn't stick to the Pharah, goes to the Tracer. Tracer more useful for forcing that point. But they want to go early again. They swing out, try and catch him in this open area. This time Pep's a little bit more ready for it. They'll manage to regroup. But now a window coming up for Kanail soon. A chance to drop this window aggressively if he wants. Johans is a little bit slow because he died in that first fight. Oh, but Zodial's got the pick. Shockwave down. They have to window to respond, but Tread still has his shield. Will slow him down. Rajaro can't find all that much aggression. And now it's Pep's turn to make the move. Oh, wow. They've won the battle on the flank as well. They can just take point for free. They don't even need this window. The map is just theirs. Gala will die on point. They will get up to about 60% before this flip goes through. But about as cheap as a retake can get. Zodial with the important pick. And now they want to hold close. Do they want to go? They're thinking about it. Aggressive window around the choke. Pressure onto Rajaro. Rajaro doesn't have Annihilation yet. Sauna's behind with a pulse bomb. Zodial wanders onto it. And it's been a game of picks so far. Sauna finds the opening blow again for this retake. And the forward holder's going to crumble. They do trade Sauna for it, but without a Baptiste, they have to slow it down. And now Shockwave, take with that Tracer kill, opens up the point. Tread. That time I think he walked. That time he definitely walked. Tread having to take several tactical resets so far in this one. And it's kind of been the story of this Sanctum so far. Just to picks before the fight. And ultimately swing it. As such, there's a lot of the big ultimates coming up. Beat and Annihilation in play for both teams. A high noon versus overclock as well. This time, Naga makes the play, but Shockwave shuts him down. Rajara's going to try and go aggressive. They try and walk back. FD God beats to keep going. They've dealt with Sauna behind. Now the later Annihilation is available for Tread. Tread can keep going here. The high noon buys him space as well. Zodial Weaver wants to find that damage. The beat comes back in from Gala, but here's the Annihilation. They need to lamp Zodial. They do lamp Zodial. The window focuses down Tread while this happens, though. And Ataraxia have got him pinned in. The overclock to finish it. The touch is so hard for Naga. He tries to make the hero play. He does kill the Baptiste. Is it enough? FD God can't quite touch in time. It was a 3v3, to be honest. If FD God got that touch, it was clutchable. It would have been hard. With Ram still up there, with Rajaro still available, but it would have been possible. And we'll move over. to Village to finish it. And obviously, I think we know what to expect here for the most part. I expect Lucio, we expect Kiri, probably expect Ram. At least for now, Naga is idling the Mei. The nice thing about Mei is you're able to get out so early. You can drop a wall right here to try and split him, get that early pressure. Wall very powerful on Village, both on this initial choke where on the high ground, but also once we get to the point fight later on. Zodiel was actually stuck Sim as well, so they want to fight the front line, and Rajaro's got a slightly different way here. They were trying to play more for the angles, and Rajaro's actually quite low. They're super split here, Ataraxia. The wall onto Rajaro means he can't leave. They pushing onto him, they lamp onto him, they just focus him down, and a super wide formation from Ataraxia actually works against him there. Rajaro gets isolated, can't regroup back to that wall. And they have to deal with Shockwave, but the TP to point means they can just ignore Shockwave, get themselves on point. They'll get the initial cap, and if they're quick, their next TP timing, they can choose to go high ground here, Peps. Go clear Shockwave out. Rajaro's not quite there yet, but he is now. So now they're just going to play a slower fight on point, but Johan peeks for Rail. Shockwave with the opening pick. Slow onto point. Rajaro's taking a lot of damage, but they can take their time and heal up here. Tread. Oh, the wall is good. FD God's trapped in there. Oh, sorry. Gala is trapped in there, but he will be okay. They've shut down Shockwave on the flank. There's no healing for Tread, though, so it will just be a slow and inevitable death. They're still trying to play it. Beat comes through. They think they can clutch it. They've got the beams going. Naga and Zodiel walking on. Mayo over top as well. Rajaro won't freeze. How did he not freeze in that one? Now he can walk on the Baptiste. Rajaro wants to win. He doesn't quite have a form, though, so Zodiel can clean that one up. Shockwave is back. He has Rail. But they've managed to clutch that one out. And they had to use ults for it. They had to use Beat. They had to use Mayo. So they're in a bit of a hole right now, ult-wise. But they kept hold of a point, 50% and counting. And now they're holding top. Thank you, Boundless Bread, for the tier 1 as well. An early wall separates Shockwave, but they can't follow it up, and I think they're just going to drop to point here. They have Sim Wall and Window to fight on point. Still a difficult fight against those ults, even with the Kitsune rush advantage here for Ataraxia. Now it comes through. They're trying to disengage, but Rajaro wants to go aggressive. They try and walk back. Treader's taking so much damage. The TP is to the high ground. It was a TP flip with Window. They lose Naga, but they're going to drop a Sim Wall on point. They have lost the flip bow, crucially. Oh, they're going to lose Johan in the back as well. Oh, no. I don't think they can win the fight from here. They're just going to look for trades here. And a costly fight to lose there from Peps. The Window flip idea I really liked. It's a very much a London play there, the flip with Window. Atarax is taking a little bit of a peek in spawn. They like to do this, but we have seen it cost them in the past. But because of that big ult investment in the previous fight, it's going to be Annihilation, Beat, and Overclock here for Ataraxia on the hold. Tread nearly has Annihilation, so I don't know how they're going to play out. They're just going to play to flip. FD God gets booped a little bit. He will be okay. Overclock will be dropped. They wall it off for now. They have to deal with Sauna behind. They're desperately trying to deal with him. The lamp is forced for Beat over top. Is there any way for him to go? No. No is the answer. They don't get the flip either. They force out that Beat. They force out that Overclock. Not the worst result for a 0 ult fight from Peps. And now, Annihilation versus Annihilation. But importantly, FD God is close to that Beat. So Ataraxia wants to hold close. We want to make this touch hard. But if he gets in this Beat, it could be the fight swinger. Sauna's going to have Pulse midway through the fight. And Sauna's done a lot of damage historically, especially when he's playing against a non-tracer composition. So he has kind of free reign. And they want to hold aggressively here. FD God walks into him but boots him away. Zodiel's under pressure. Lamp is too late. They're just going to die. Is it a quick reset here? Oh no, they're committing Beat, Mayo, Annihilation, but Sauna still has Pulse Bomb behind. They've got to be careful. Pressure on. It's going to miss. They're still trying to go Kitsune rush back now. And that should be enough from Kineo. Sauna can maybe finish him off here. They need to think about touch soon. 7% and counting. They're going to blink for it. Sauna, can he shut it down? He gets the melee. Zodiel can't touch. I don't think anyone can touch now. Sauna's got him contained. And Ataraxia will take map 1. But it was by no means straightforward. No means straightforward. Kineo play of the game here. Not sure what it will be. Let's see. Is this when he gets the pick? Yeah, the opening fight. He's going to get a pick at the same time Sauna does. Claims a bit of credit for that one. Not the most riveting play of the game we've seen. And we do get confirmation that Tread wasn't pushed. He walked of his own volition off that edge. We'll get invited to the next one. Which, of course, will be at Hollywood. And honestly, a lot of respect to Peps for how close they made that, especially playing with Yoham instead of Crook. Unexpectedly as well, it's worth adding. So a really decent effort. And they look really competitive on that version of comp. The problem is now they're going to end up on this Hollywood. They're going to end up on this Hollywood. And this is the map that Peps picks. But ultimately, a very good map. A very good map for Ataraxia. So they'll have their work cut out here. And there is a question for what they choose to do. In terms of, do they keep playing the comp they were playing? But obviously they have to adapt to the double flex comp rather than just playing the mirror. Or do they go dive? We've seen Tread play Winston before. We talked to him a little bit about it before OWCS Stage 2, about how he was sort of hard grinding Winston to try and catch up. And while I think we have seen some flaws in Tread's Winston gameplay, it was much more in a dive mirror rather than playing Winston into a brawly type composition or into a double flex composition. So I think the dive has some natural advantages. Obviously, the nature of dive is you can jump on stuff. So if somebody's holding a particular angle or Gala wants to hold a flank, you can go clear now. You can really threaten it. We'll move on to Hollywood. Yoham is still in, so Crook's internet issues, unfortunately for Peps, not resolved in time. And we'll start with Peps on the defense here. As I pray to the FACEIT gods, now the HUD will come back, the HUD will update. I have faith. Do you all have faith? You should have faith. I'll do a quick scoreboard check while we're here from the first map. Don't know if there was any massive overperformances. It was a pretty even game back and forth. I think 15 and 4 for Kaneo, a very impressive KD. Shockwave 23 and 5. Sauna 21 and 7. Zodial 18 and 8. A lot of these kills important though. Huge clutch on that shrine to help win it. The HUD is back. We get confirmation. Now they're ahead. And we also get a little bit of confirmation from Peps on what they think the answer is to this potential double flex. And the answer is, we're diving. We're diving. So they're going with Kiri Lucio, so the highest mobility version of this. Maybe not quite, since Zodiac was on the cast, so you have to be careful. And there is a sleep out of spawn, actually. Widow swap, and, well, Tread will take some damage. Give that ult charge to Sauna, who got the headshot. And it will be double flex, as we expect, from Ataraxia. Looking for their way in initially. They have to take space steadily and slowly here. They're going to force the form out of Rajaro here as he boxes them into the stairs, but he will get pushed back down to half HP as well, and Tread's just going to jump and bubble on that. Rajaro can get the double pocket out of there. Meanwhile, they have to keep an eye on Sauna, who is behind. Rajaro will tiptoe onto point now. Tread looking for his next timing. Rajaro is awfully far forward. They go onto Gala. That's the threat. That's what they wanted to do. The lamp is not good from Kaneo. And they manage to stabilize. They need to clear point here, though, really, Peps. No, they want to double down. They're going forward. They're killing everything in front of them. They'll concede a tick for it, and a little bit more than that, too. But they will give a clean up. And a pretty classic approach there from Peps. Oh, and that guy wants to stand by himself at an angle. We're going to get him. Thank you as well, FinFunJ. Or FinFunge. For the Prime. I do appreciate it. 3 months in a row as well. Very kind. Now, we'll go into the next fight, and it's ult advantage for Peps again. They've got no support ult, so they can really ramp up the pressure. Actually, Tread jumps on Rajaro. I think a miscommunication. They go Kitsune Rush with high ground, but Tread goes on the tank. So a little bit of a split. They deal with Sauna behind them, when Rajaro's super split by his Kitsune Rush. So they actually just deal with everything anyway. Gala still gets the trade and is forcing point. Zodial has to be careful getting this cleanup because there's a lot of people peeking him. They're going to beat for it, actually. They want to go aggressive. They need to finish this Gala kill. They will finish this Gala kill. Zodial rolls maybe into more danger, but the bubble is good. Tread is back just in the nick of time. Cleanup kills will go a mile here. But all they can do is stabilize, and that's a very expensive way to stabilize. Now look at the ult bank for Ataraxia. They've got everything. They can start with window, maybe get a bit of space. Bob on point as well. Annihilation defensively if they get in trouble. And this is now a tricky fight to win. But miscommunication at the start of that one really cost him. Pulse Bomb onto Tread here. Still doesn't have it. High Noon is going to buy him space, actually. Gala's going over roof with Captive Sun. They come out. Can they trigger it? Oh, no. They TP back. No. Yoham triggers. Oh, no. Yoham got hit by the Captive Sun. Gala hit the shot to trigger the explosion. Yoham TP's back to the team. And it's an Oppenheimer-style situation. There's a chain reaction of explosions. A chain reaction of explosions sets off and just wipes, absolutely wipes Peps. And, oh, that's not what you like to... Well, it is what you like to see if your name is Ataraxia. Now, onto this second, Ataraxia keen to hold on to the high ground. They will window to maintain that space. Rajaro's trying to walk forward at the expense of a lot of his HP. Peps are underneath. They're a little bit split. They don't quite have any ults to go with yet. Tread's going to jump the back line here. Pressure onto Velucio. Gala is going to try and skate away. Rajaro has the annihilation here. Suzu to focus him down, and they're all split. They're all split. Nothing to save Rajaro. They were forced back. And Tread and Naga, you see him go and put pressure on the back line. They force everyone to take that back step from the side of Ataraxia. And that allows the rest of Peps to just focus. On the Ramatra. Onto the high ground here is Pep, still trying to keep hold of that. Rajaro has made the D.Va swap to try and contest this a little bit more. Rajaro goes for the boop, forces Zodial down, but he can come right back up just to get knocked back down again. But you know what they say, if you get knocked down, stand back up, and Zodial just does that. And they're actually going to Kitsune rush into the spawn. Tread wants to keep going. He's keeping these kills for Lamp is forced. Primal next. Needs to try and find his finishing blow. That'll do it. We'll be able to stall this baby out as well. They need to worry about point here. They will come back. And they have forced Sauna out. And the Hunter's now on. They want to try and force him all the way out. And Naga, he's chasing him all the way. Doesn't want to let him go. But Sauna gets to the Mega. And now allows Sauna to reset. Maintain his position on the flank here. Holding on to the high ground here. Sauna still has that flank. Naga continues to mark him. Rajaro trying to move up for the boop here, but Tread just playing slow. Trying to get the drop on Rajaro here. Dynamite catches all of Peps here. They actually want to beat and push it. They think they can catch him. Gala is there. They try and rotate away, but Bob helps give them space. Sauna's going to force point, but they need kills right now, Peps. They're looking for the backline, but the beat is good from Gala. Now they can all come out. Peps need to reset. The point's been moving this entire time. They're desperate to die on point now, and they might be in trouble. Naga gets an important trade. They need to try and stabilize. Zodial's up top. He's separated. Yoham's trying to heal him, though it's not enough. And the payload focus from Sauna here might just mean that fight win actually gets them all of second. Tread's going to drop touch once. Pulse Bomb misses, actually, and it's going to be able to force Sauna's recall. Tread needs help urgently. FD God's going to go for the next touch. Gala's there with the Bufo. And it was a bit of a struggle at that point, honestly, for Ataraxia. They will probably count themselves grateful. In fact, they managed to get that one with just the one fight victory, really. Diligent work by Sauna, playing through the objective. Trying to come out on the ram now. It's an aggressive high noon swing. Zodial needs help. No, but Pocket not quite there. Zodial will fall, and they're really committed to this, but Yoham is stuck behind. The backline is split from the front line. It's a disaster from Peps. The high noon doesn't work. The two groups, well, they didn't want it to be two groups, but it ends up super split. The Ramatra swap makes a lot of sense now. We're on third. We're in a more enclosed area. You can just hold in this corner if you Tread, but it's a shame to lose that fight for so cheaply. Free cart progress for Ataraxia. They are coming back with Window and Bomb. Yoham has the Kitsune rush, but they might just be keen to disengage this one. Yoham actually TPs his pocket him here. Rajaro's going to double down. Has the self-destruct if he loses his mech. And I think he will lose his mech. He's planning to double down here. Looking for the remech as they all DP. But Tread is alone. Tread needs help. Gala was looking for pressure. Window now forces them to DP more. Tread is still in trouble. They need to help Tread. Pulse Bomb over the top. Kitsune rush to try and save him. But now Yoham's TP'd into trouble. Is able to stabilize a little bit with Suzu, but it's 5v3. Ataraxia are bearing down on last. They're going to beat back. They need a kill. They also need not to die. They do get Kineo there. Crucial from Zodial. Suzu to keep him alive. Zodial is still going. He's taken the mech. Zodial will not retreat. Shockwave tries to turn the fight with Bob. It's now going to force the point. FD God is so low. Tread is low. Beat over top from Gala. Tread has nowhere to go. He has to stay on point. Naga is desperate for the Shockwave trade, but he can't find it. Yoham is with him, but the touch, Naga, the touch. And Shockwave calls it a Naga classic. Switching sides. Naga responds in a language I don't understand. Danish, not in my list of additional skills. And a full cap for Ataraxia. A few different looks from here going on to the Lucio and the Diva on the second bear. It certainly works out, but honestly, the way I feel, if I can be honest with you, and I'm always honest with you, it feels like most of Pep's problems are actually their fault. That miscommunication on first, that forced them to overcommit ults, where Tread goes one way and the team swing top with Kitsune. The high noon play was just a bit of a disaster all round. And it feels like after one mistake, maybe more mistakes are creeping into Pep's play here. Obviously, still have to be fair that they're playing with Yoham a little bit unexpectedly. But needs to be better, Peps. Obviously a map down already. They have to win this map to keep the series going. I think they did a good job moving it to Junkertown, and they could play the dive there as well. It certainly caused problems, at least initially, for Ataraxia.
5, 4, 3,
it's going to be a Torp hold. Tread's going to go for a Javelin out of spawn. We'll see what he swaps to afterwards. It's going to be Mauga, actually. Mauga Venture. These guys think they're SSG. You get full capped on Hollywood, you just go Mauga Venture and all your problems will solve themselves, will they? Well, they get a pick. They trade Naga for it, though. Spawn advantage, obviously, for the attackers at this point. We'll be able to speed him back as well. Now Tread's going to overrun through, wants to clear this flank, and Mauga's very good into Ramatra, and also with this Bapillari, I don't really know how good they are at dealing with this Mauga when if Tread wants to come in and slam him. Tread wants to go alleyway, it seems like. The rest of his team trying to vie for top. Tread's going to make the move now, looking for it. Will get stopped by the turret, cancels the run, and just tries to unload both barrels into Sauna. They lose Zodial on the way in, but they get the Sauna kill. The Venture is in the mix there as well. Naga and Tread are cleaning up. Tread is awfully low. The Slam puts more pressure on. Kaneo and Gala are trying to stabilize on point, but here comes the Venture. So good in these dogfights. The combos, the raw damage is just so good. And a clean first fight. And now he's going to go Winston for second. Are they sticking for Venture? He's halfway to the Tectonic Shock. We're going to see Rajara go Sigma. But it feels like Tread's a step ahead here with the swaps. Obviously, Rajaro has to commit to that one out of spawn. Will join his team on high ground. But they can start by forcing point and then look for a dive onto the high ground with this Kitsune rush on this beat. It's lining up nicely for Peps. Nothing to respond with just yet. That Captive Sun nearly there, though. Trying to make an early move here, Naga, but he actually just gets killed. That's not how he wanted that one to go. And now Rajaro will try and take a step forward. He is bubbled off. But Ataraxia break it quickly, save their man. And Rajaro's looking for any more kills he can get. Gala's there taking it and does get the pick. Forces them further back. More valuable time off the clock. If they want more, they're not done yet. They'll get Yoham as well. Ataraxia on a slow march forward, taking down everyone in their path. Kitsune Rush and beat available. Those picks have bought Ataraxia a crucial time. Look, they now have ults to deal with this. They can flux defensively. They can bob defensively. They have a chance. Bubble off onto the Sigma again. Pulse bomb in the back, though. Suzu is there, but they try and walk forward now outside that Suzu timing. They're still having to try and deal with this Tracer behind here. They will finally force Sauna out. And now another jump. Kitsune Rush comes through. Bob and Flux use beat in response. They'll all stay alive. They're on the Kitsune Rush, but here's the Captive Sun. FD God will blow up. Sauna will make sure of finishing that one. And the Captive Sun, but Bob, it burns through the Pep's backline. They're able to trade one, but that's all they'll get. As Tread goes sailing over the buildings. And they used both support ults for that. Obviously, it was a pretty heavy-handed response from Ataraxia as well. So a bit more of a simple fight plan now for Peps. They've got Overclock, they've got Primal, and they've got the Tectonic Shock. Can just go with one of these. You can send Tread on the back line. Just focus down the Sigma with this. Tread can keep everyone out of that window. Thank you, Yubi, as well, for the tier 1. 3 months in a row. Hope you enjoy, Dallas. Safe travels. And, well, Shockwave's just demolished. How's Shockwave just gotten these kills? Doesn't seem like what we'd expect. He's just got the kills on point. Tread is still behind, able to trade one. Has the Primal if he really wants to, but will likely just wait for spawns or, well, likely wait for his own spawn. And Peps are having a lot of false starts here. They'll take a bit of this early space thanks to that trade. Gala and Kanea will back up to the high ground closer to the cap. And that allows Peps crucial free space. But they have to keep an eye on Sauna. He's been a nuisance for them so far. Drill dash back, but Sauna connects for Pulse Bomb. The trade is good, and Sauna can now anchor point. Tread had to bubble defensively, so again, Peps struggling to get a dive off. They're going to pop the Overclock. They're just going to go for it. Here comes Zodial. Quick one on the lamp, quick one on Kanale. And him and Tread are doubling down. They will kill the backline here. Zodial is low. Rajaro has traded too. So they will get the payload moving, but it's a messy fight again. Tread has the Primal if he gets in trouble. Will give a Suzu initially. Will take care of Shockwave. Tread desperate to hold on to that one, really. Oh, he pops it, actually. Tread wants to keep going. He can't separate Rajaro, though, and... Ah, it's ugly. I don't know if he thought he was going to die, so then he had to pop it. But ends up being a wasted Primal, when now Peps ultimately have to wait for these support ults. Kitsune Rush, only 10% away, though. The time's coming soon. But now, again, Rajaro has this Flux, and Gala can even use the Captive Sun with the Flux to ensure those kills. Dynamite on the high ground slows them down. Rajaro is just anchoring point. A chance to just go over Rajaro here. Eyes on Gala if they want him. Here it comes. Early high ground. Flux comes out here. It catches both of the backline. Bell Kitsune Rush and Flux for the Captive Sun. It misses. Or was it Suzu? Either way, it doesn't connect, and it's a disaster. But Bob comes out in desperation. Bob can use the window, so Bob can do some work yet. Bob trades Naga. Thank you, Bob. And it's a messy fight again. Shockwave has found the kills. Tread will get the payload moving, but they won't be able to win it here. Zodial is in very deep still. He's going to try and make his way out, but Shockwave is hunting. He knows he's there. Dynamite not in time. Sauna's going to take over the hunt now. Looks for a Pulse Bomb. Doesn't find it, though. Keen to get any of the kills in here. Ataraxia have stabilized, and they forced them back. 20 seconds left. They have to make their move soon. Kiri Lucio are now the backline for Ataraxia. No ults particularly close. 30% of this overclock. Peps have to go before they have anything. The good news is Ataraxia don't have anything either, so it is just a neutral. They have to keep point contested here. Sauna's going to come behind now onto Yoham. Does he know? He's finding out now. The dive is there with the Lucio. Gala's going to get kill on Zodial. Now Overclock will not be here in this fight. Tread has to bubble just to help keep point contested. More pressure onto Tread. He is getting pocketed. Recall has been forced out as well. Tread is so low. One more bubble allows Tread to stabilize at least for a little bit. But he needs help. He needs space. And look at Shockwave. He's got the high ground for free. He's uncontested. He'll drop. He should be able to finish these kills. They need to keep point contested. It won't go. And this should be it. A straightforward in the end from Ataraxia. GG's in the chat. Ataraxia win 2-0. We'll get play of the game. And it will be Gala. And it has to be this Captive Sun. It has to be the Yoham delivery service. Look at this. Hits one. TP. Just a casual 4K. Not even looking. Not even looking. And we'll get that one finishing up. So, it's a hard... we started at the top of the broadcast talking about how this was a really important game for Peps in terms of can they prove they're not just a tier break team and they're actually in the top sort of the big five, the Fab Five, whatever you want to call it. They're in that group. And we didn't really get a perfect test of that. Because they weren't with Crook, they weren't at full strength. I still feel when I look at that game, especially on the Hollywood, it felt like Peps' problems were more Peps making mistakes than necessarily Ataraxia doing anything special. I think Ataraxia still played well. I think Sauna got decent flank value, put them under a lot of pressure. I think we saw Rajaro get decent value when his backline was being pushed, being aggressive and trading kills. Certainly felt like compared to first map, Zodial didn't have the same impact. I felt like Rajaro did a better job shutting him down in that later map. Then the big problem ultimately on Hollywood is both times they had what should have been their fight-winning ultimates or their point-capturing ultimates in the Kitsune Russian beat. They used them when they had everything already available. And everything available on the Ataraxia side, I mean. Where they had the defensive Flux, they had the defensive Captive Sun to try and finish it. It didn't work out, so ultimately the support ults never got the value they really should do against that sort of composition. And I think that's ultimately maybe what cost Peps more across that map. Obviously, the couple of fights where they just get super split or they go different directions are frustrating ones, and ones that they'll obviously want to do better on. It was, I think, there's maybe a more sensible way to go around that ult situation. And that maybe solves it for them. So we can take a look at the scoreboard here. Obviously, this is round one. This is the one that was obviously pretty competitive back and forth on that in the pool. Could have gone either way. Maybe some of the standout performers, obviously Shockwave at the top there, 23 and 5. Kaneo 15 and 4, very good as well. As we got into Hollywood, this is where we maybe see a bit of a shift here. We see Sauna going 29 and 3. And I think you see it a lot. If you ever leave Sauna unchecked, he does start to have huge value on his backline, causes real problems, did more of the same here. Shockwave obviously dying a bit more on this one, 24 and 8. Still felt like, especially later in the series, Shockwave started to find a lot more space. Maybe the key one here, which was causing the problems, is if you look at these deaths, 11 deaths for Tread, 10 deaths for Naga. They were really making their lives hard. And it felt like so many times you can end up in this horrible cycle on Winston. If you get initially chunked, then you have to bubble defensively. Then you're stuck waiting for your next bubble before you can properly die. But then you're spent waiting for so long that actually you just get your bubble forced defensively again. And that happened on a couple of occasions where it didn't feel like they really were able to get those big push moments or those big dive moments there. And obviously, some of that is Peps' problem, but you have to give credit to Ataraxia for putting the pressure on, making Tread's life hard. And Ataraxia continue to be thrown different problems that try and stop their comp or upset their comp. But they've answered all of them. Well, almost all of them. If you discount SSG, but... if you discount SSG. The Malga was an interesting swap. I think it certainly worked. Interesting they didn't opt into it on second as well. Obviously, some swaps came back out in response there. I think the Malga's still quite fine into the Sigma. And if we take a standings update while we're in this... Hopefully it should have updated. We should see Ataraxia jump up here into second, join the 11 and 2 club with Ents and Twisted Minds. Peps will be left behind on 9 and 3. And we're starting to get a pretty good feel for where all the teams are here. We've got our top 5, I think, pretty much locked in. We've then got the Chasing Pack, which is really all these teams, honestly. The 6 and 5 teams all still in contention. Lots of back and forth and map trades between all these teams as well. So, really getting to crunch time and FACEIT. And ultimately, a bit of a shame from Peps. Again, there's always everything today has to come with a caveat that Crook wasn't there. How different would it have looked? I don't think Johan played particularly badly. The one Captive Sun, the TP when he had his Captive Sun triggered. Yeah. That one is on him. But the rest, I thought he played relatively fine. I think, even though they got no value out of the Kitsune rushes, particularly on their attack, I think that was less of a Johan problem and more of a just how the fights are going problem. And how they were choosing to take some of those ult trades. I don't know if there's a smarter way to take those bigger ult trades, or if the simplest answer is to just try and force some of them out and trade up in some way, you know? Maybe like going with the initial dive, and then you get fluxed, you beat to live for flux, and then if you all live, great, let's Kitsune Rush and keep going. If you don't live, you just go, okay, they use flux, maybe they use Captive Sun to combo it and kill through the beat or something, right? You just go, okay, we lost that fight, now let's go with Kitsune Rush in our next push. Maybe there were some smarter ways to work around, or some alternate ways to work around the ult economy, because it seemed like Ataraxia had a pretty good answer for here come the big support ults. But those ults, those solutions for Ataraxia were all ult reliant, right? So if they don't have those ults, and we saw this a little bit on Peps' defense, where they actually just got to use the ults and Ataraxia didn't have anything. It's just like, well, we don't have a lot of ways to run away from this. Gala's just going to die, or our Ashe is just going to die. They can't escape these situations. So, I don't know. I think there's still promise for Peps. There's obviously still plenty of time before we get to the knockout stage, and that's when it really matters to get to the Esports World Cup, which is ultimately the aim of both of these teams here, is to qualify for the Esports World Cup. So, I have to pick a player of the match. That would be the sort of thing I would do. Who was the player of the match? Let me think. I think Shockwave had a pretty good series. Is it maybe just Sauna again? Rajaro was pretty solid. I mean, if it was just Nepal, it was maybe Zodial, right? Zodial actually had like a standout performance on Nepal. Thank you, Mapinlo. Appreciate the tier 1. 2 months. Thank you very much. And what was I saying? Player of the match. Yeah, player of the match. That's a tough one, really. I don't know if there was any... I mean, all of Ataraxia played well. The system just kind of worked. Rajaro was good for the fluxes. All of the things did line up. And and I think then, who am I going to give it to? Is it just Sauna? I feel like Sauna had a pretty consistently solid game. Caused real problems for Naga. Thank you for the gift, Metapino, to loyal mod Coleman as well. Maybe it is just Sauna. I think a good series across both. Was certainly a nuisance. Forced a lot of these cooldowns out. Consistently finding trades, hitting pulse bombs, making Peps' life really hard. And ultimately, all those things we talked about where Tread was having a hard time moving, but people most responsible for making Tread having a hard time moving is Rajaro and Sauna. So I think Rajaro and Sauna were probably up there, but I'll give it to Sauna on balance. And I think that'll wrap us. So thank you very much for joining us. And I'll see you in the next one.